Hi. Time for another hike and trail overview. This one is of Wagon and Devil's Bridge. Devil's Bridge, arguably one of the most popular areas to hike in Sedona. Not my favorite, but we'll get into that in a moment. So the mechanics of the hike, you can see here that we spent about 5 hours and change, hiking and crossed 7 miles or so. There was an ascent, but most of that ascent actually occurred, if you look here, it basically occurred around Devil's Bridge. That's where most of the climbing took place. Otherwise, it was a fairly, there was some up and down, but it was nothing too severe. We had tried to get a parking spot at the Mescal trailhead, which ordinarily is easy to do. Not this day. I guess the spring crowd really came in hard for the day that we were out, and we couldn't find any parking in this area. And we had to drive all the way out and park on the side of the road to find a spot where we could begin our hike. We began our hike at Long Canyon and took Wagon all the way around, diverted out to Devil's Bridge, came back, and then followed the balance of Wagon until we returned to our car up here. So that was the hike, but I'll show you a couple of points of interest in here. So we'll just get the topographic view going, and the first place that we'll look is the spot where we had to divert around some water. So Dry Creek, which you can see here, actually splits into two. So you have to cross this creek twice. Now I guess ordinarily the creek is dry. That's why it's called Dry Creek, I suspect. But it has been anything but dry. Earlier in the month, early part of March, we tried this trail and we said, no, we're not interested. The water was up above the knees when you're walking across. The current was really strong. It was very cold. Thought, we'll come back. And that's what we did here. We tried a little trick, putting some garbage bags around our shoes and pants to, sort of go without having to take everything off. And as it turned out, it kind of worked. I was fine, except for a little bit of water on one side of my foot. Lorraine didn't work for her at all. But the second creek here, where it splits, Lorraine wound up losing her footing and falling in, and had some minor injuries as a consequence, but we were able to get her fixed up and keep going on the hike. We then decided, for whatever reason, hey, let's go to Devil's Bridge. I mean, we're here. Yes, everybody goes there, but it shouldn't be that bad. Well, it turns out that Devil's Bridge is like Walt Disney World. I mean, we had nobody on the trail, really, for the entire walk until we got to this point right here. And then it was just crowds of people going up to this part of Devil's Bridge. We went all the way up to the top. We stood in the line, not to have our picture taken on the bridge, because that would have taken an hour or two, but just to sort of get a sense as to what was going on in that part of the hike. And a reminder when you hike in beautiful areas that it is far nicer to hike on your own than it is with hundreds, or I don't think it was thousands, but it's definitely hundreds of people in that part. We also had to cross the creek again on our return to where our car was parked. And for that one, I took my shoes and socks off and rolled up my pants. Lorraine, on the other hand, she just said, fine, I don't care. I'm already wet, so I'll just cross. And so she did. So that was the hike. It's a pretty busy day. And but again, we had wonderful weather. And it was funny because it wasn't hot and it wasn't cold temperature-wise. I would say it was just right for hiking. It was very pleasant, nice sunshine, and of course the scenery around there is just stunning. So that was our hike at Wagon and Devil's Bridge. Cheers.